after the release of Metal Gear Solid, Kojima's peers were shocked by its success. Once again, everyone thought that his game wouldn't make it anywhere, and once again, they were all wrong. Maybe now he could get the respect he rightfully deserved. In early 2001, Kojima would release the first information on the next game in the Metal Gear franchise, Metal Gear Solid 2: Sons of Liberty. But at this time, he was also producing another game, and an anime franchise known as Zone of the Enders. Zone of the Enders was a mech battle series, and in 2001 it released to moderate success. Most of its success in America was probably due to the demo that shipped with it. Many people bought the game just for the Metal Gear Solid 2 demo that came bundled with it. The Metal Gear Solid 2 demo followed the first chapter of the game. The story picks up 2 years after the events of Metal Gear Solid, and Solid Snake no longer works for the United States government. This time he was a philanthropist, whose mission was to eradicate every Metal Gear after the MO disc that contained Metal Gear's data was sold on the black market, allowing any country with the means to build their own Metal Gear. MGS2 begins when Solid Snake hears of a new Metal Gear being developed and boards an oil tanker that is traveling down the Hudson River in New York City. After sneaking onto the oil tanker, he discovers that it is being hijacked by Russian soldiers. Soldiers that are being led by a man named Colonel Gorlukovich, along with a familiar face, Revolver Ocelot. Snake makes his way to the bridge to find that everyone there is dead, and there he sees a woman outside speaking on a radio to her father. The woman is Olga Gorlukovich, the daughter of Colonel Sergei Gorlukovich. Snake must fight her using only his M9 tranquilizer gun. She has several tricks up her sleeve, such as shooting a spotlight to blind Snake, or shooting the ropes holding a tarp down to obscure Snake's line of sight to her. Snake, however, manages to knock her out using his M9, and he leaves her unconscious on the deck of the ship before infiltrating deeper. In the hull of the ship, Snake finds about 100 Marines, watching a speech from their Commandant, Scott Dolph. Snake must sneak past all of them and make his way through a few different rooms before finally finding the room where Dolph is broadcasting from. And in that room, he also finds what he is looking for: the new model of Metal Gear, Metal Gear Ray, an amphibious Metal Gear that was designed to take out other Metal Gears, in essence, an anti-Metal Gear Metal Gear. Here, Snake must take pictures of Metal Gear Ray so he can send them back to Otacon. But after uploading the pictures, things go wrong. Revolver Ocelot crashes the party and gives a speech about how he was taking Metal Gear Ray back for the Patriots. However, Scott Dolph hears Lally Lule Lo, because the nanomachines that are in each of the soldiers are programmed to replace the Patriots with Lally Lule Lo. Why? Because the Patriots don't want their existence known, so they replace it with Lally Lule Lo. And it is replaced with that because L sounds do not exist in the Japanese language, so the Patriots do not exist either. Just a little trivia for you, but I digress. Ocelot kills Commandant Dolph, and he even kills the man that was supposed to be his friend, Sergei Gorlukovich. Then, a surprise happens. Ocelot has a new arm, Liquid Snake's arm, and his arm begins to twitch and go crazy. And suddenly, Ocelot begins talking with Liquid Snake's voice. It appears that Liquid Spirit is possessing Ocelot's body, and he comes out in the presence of Solid Snake. Ocelot then hijacks Ray and cuts a hole in the hull of the ship, sinking the ship, and supposedly Solid Snake sinks along with it. 2 years pass, and an oil platform called Big Shell is erected to clean the oil out of the ocean where the tanker went down. A new group of terrorists have taken over the Big Shell and are threatening to destroy it and create a huge eco-disaster if their demands are not met. Also, the new President of the United States is there, and they have taken him hostage. The terrorists are calling themselves the Sons of Liberty and are supposedly being led by the legendary Solid Snake. This is where the controversy comes into play. A guy with the codename of Snake infiltrates the Big Shell to put a stop to these terrorists. But when he pulls off his scuba mask, we discover that it is not Solid Snake. Instead of the familiar, gruff, battle-hardened soldier we all know and love, it was a small, blonde-haired, blue-eyed pretty boy. His codename quickly changes from Snake to Raiden, and this is our hero throughout the rest of the game. Fans hoped that we would just play as Raiden for a small part of the game, and then we would continue the rest of the game as Solid, and many players were outraged when they found that this was not the case. Raiden was here to stay. Raiden would be guided by Colonel Campbell, who returned from Metal Gear Solid, and he was also helped by a new person that would be in charge of saving his mission data. Rose, his girlfriend, was brought on to help him through Codec. We would also come in contact with a very familiar face, a man claiming to be a Navy SEAL named Iroquois Plissken, another reference to Escape from New York protagonist Snake Plissken, and his namesake gives him away as the real Solid Snake. He too has come to stop the terrorists. The terrorists are actually former members of Dead Cell. Fortune, the daughter of the late Scott Dolph, is a woman that cannot die, because every time a bullet is shot at her, it is reflected away from her by an invisible force. She also wields a huge gun that is a smaller version of the Metal Gear Rex's railgun. Vamp, a real-life vampire that somehow escapes death even with shots to the head. He is an acrobat and an expert with blades. He can read muscle movements and can react to them before his target moves. Interestingly, he is voiced by Phil Lamar of Mad TV fame. And he is not named Vamp because he is vampire, but because Vamp means a woman who is conscious of and makes use of being attractive to men in order to get what she wants. In other words, Vamp is a bisexual. Then there's Fat Man, a large man wearing a bomb suit and rollerblades. He would skate around and plant several bombs, and Raiden would have to use a spray to freeze them and stop them from detonating. He was pretty much just a mad bomber that wanted to become famous for his explosives. His name comes from the name of one of the atomic bombs that were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in World War II. There were 3 bombs: Fat Man, Thin Man, and Little Boy. The leader of this group was the one masquerading as Solid Snake. His real name was George Sears, the former president of the United States and the 3rd clone of Big Boss, Solidus Snake. He wears an exoskeleton to make himself stronger, and it comes equipped with 2 long robotic arms, like he's cosplaying as Dr. Octopus at Comic-Con. There are also a few more surprises. There is a new Cyborg Ninja in town, and it is later revealed that it is Olga Gerlukovich. The Patriots have kidnapped her daughter and have forced her to work for them. There is also the appearance of Emma Emmerich, Otacon's little sister. She was there in the big shell because she is actually the designer of the AI that is on board of Arsenal Gear, a new giant Metal Gear that is like a warship that houses several Metal Gear Rays, hidden under Big Shell. She unfortunately is killed by Vamp, leaving Otacon even more broken than he was after the death of his love, Sniper Wolf, in Metal Gear Solid. This poor guy just can't catch a break, and another page is added to his family's dark history. After boarding Arsenal Gear, Raiden is stripped of all his gear and left naked, and he must find Snake to retrieve his gear. So he has to make his way through Arsenal completely naked, covering his junk and doing naked cartwheels. Later, Raiden discovers that the entire operation was a simulation that was designed to make him more like Solid Snake, and the colonel that he has been talking to is actually an AI that has been guiding him through the entire game. Rose too is a fake. She was hired to keep a close eye on him and modified her looks and personality to fit his ideal girlfriend, but she ended up really falling in love with him and becoming pregnant with his child. Raiden must then fight several Metal Gear Rays while on top of Arsenal Gear, before Ocelot reveals that he was a double-crossing agent working for the Patriots the entire time, and that Fortune was actually being kept alive by an EMP device that prevented bullets from reaching her. Ocelot then takes off with one of the Rays and Snake follows him, diving into the ocean after him. Arsenal Gear then crashes into Manhattan, and Raiden and Solidus are thrown from Arsenal Gear onto the roof of Federal Hall, where they must sword fight to the death. In the end, Solidus is defeated and falls from the roof of Federal Hall to the stone steps below. Snake returns, and he and Raiden have a long-winded dialogue on the busy streets of New York City. And if you look closely, way back behind them, you can see a figure standing beside a taxicab in the background. It was soon discovered that this figure was Vamp. He was still alive and would return in a future Metal Gear title. The game, despite its controversial protagonist and the confusing storyline, was another smash hit, outselling its predecessor with over 7 million copies sold worldwide. It was praised for its cutting-edge graphics, deep storyline, great gameplay, and its beautiful musical score by the composer Harry Gregson Williams. The game was so influential, in fact, that in 2002, Hideo Kojima was named one of the 10 most influential people that would change America and the world in Newsweek magazine. Kojima went from a bottom-rung employee at Konami to a man that would influence the world in under a decade. He had left quite the mark on the world, and he still had more to come. Join me next time to see how Metal Gear went back in time.